Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Vertical Reach podcast. This is where storytelling meets strategy. I'm Pauline Gray, and each week I sit down with the creators, innovators, and voices shaping the world of vertical storytelling. Let's tell stories that connect. Hello, everyone. Thank you again for coming to the Vertical Reach podcast. Just about the show a bit. The vertical reach as a concept is that moment when you extend upward, physically, professionally, emotionally, to meet what exists above you when standing at the same level is no longer enough. Vertical reach is the act of rising to meet what's higher, whether your body, your work, or your ambitions. And this podcast is about people who didn't just pivot careers, they changed altitude. This season focuses on filmmakers and creators entering the emerging vertical microdrama space. This tends to have occurred as part of a larger integration or reinvention. The goal here is to document real-time transitions, not to give this polished hindsight. Today on the guest chair, we have the amazing Paige Compton. Paige has over 20 years of experience in entertainment. She's been directing microdrama series since its inception, so she's a real trailblazer. And she's currently one of the most sought-after directors for vertical format film, particularly in the comedy series area. She is a graduate of the Distinguished AFI Directing Program, Disney's Underrepresented Filmmakers Program, and the Warner Brothers Discovery Access Director Program. So all her industry accolades are super tight. She's been fully vetted by the standard Hollywood machine, which is amazing as well. She's a veteran, so we can thank her for her service as well in the comments, please. During her time in the Army, she designed and built TV studios. We got to hear more about that. She earned a membership in the Society of Broadcast Engineers, and her last 4 years of service were spent as an audiovisual director for just President Barack Obama. I think we know who that is. Familiar with that president. This year, Paige is creating 2 brand new independent vertical series. Some of her major accolades are when she directed Snatched, a Billionaire to Be My Husband. I want to know how to do that. Who doesn't, right? I mean,
I know.
right? Show me some tips. That vertical series was number 1 for 2 months on the charts in top 10 for the next 3 months. Also, Hold Me Tight, Mr. Firefighter was number 1 for 2 months and on the top 3 for 6 months. It's also known as the firefighter who wouldn't let go. So my first question is, how do I find me a firefighter who will let me go, who's also a billionaire?
Well, according to the stories,
Okay.
you either need to, have a really terrible boyfriend who's the nephew of a billionaire and start dating his uncle, or you need to be a bad boss CEO who gets rescued by a firefighter, but also simultaneously rescues the firefighter. And then he dedicates his whole life to finding you and has to marry you.
Amazing. Okay. Huh. I gotta figure out how to navigate that. She also directed The Beggar King Returns. That was on the top 3 for a week and top 10 for 3 weeks. And I could go on and on and on with her amazing, amazing accomplishments, always ranking in the top 10 for months at a time. But let's dive in real quick to Paige. Why don't you give us a little bit of insight into your time in the military and how that informed yourself as a filmmaker, a little sort of personalized timeline?
Yeah, so I was one of those filmmakers. It's like I've always wanted to make movies since I was a kid. And when I got to graduating age in high school, my parents realized very quickly that it wasn't a hobby. It was something I was seriously pursuing.
What are you
Uh,
thinking?
yeah. I was like, that's not a real job. Like, you need to go to like an accredited college. You can't just go to film school. And so I did computer animation in a junior college for 2 years, but it still wasn't enough. Like, I really wanted to be like on set and, making movies. So I ran away and joined the circus, to put it, lightly. Was My thought was, if my parents won't pay for film school, then I have to find my own film school. And so the military wasn't just a like split decision. Like, that was something that was very methodical for me. Like, I looked up the types of jobs that were in the military. Was there anything that was film related? And I found a few and went out for those, and then ended up doing the more technical side, which really helped me once I got out, because now I know how to speak the language of like the sound department, editing, camera, lighting, electronics, like all of that, because I was an audio visual engineer in the military. So it's when I'm asking for things on set, now I know what I'm asking for and how long it should take for the most part. My first duty assignment was with the NSA in Georgia in Fort Gordon, just outside of Augusta. I was there for 2 years, and right when I arrived, my unit went non-deployable. So I was just in Georgia for 2 years, and not the fun part, not Atlanta, or Savannah or anything like that. So there was an opportunity, because we already had clearances and a very specific job that was very niche, very small group of us in the military, and me was one of the very few females. I think I only knew 3 or 4 other females in my line of work in the military. The opportunity to work for White House Communications Agency came along, and they were like, if you get in, that's a 4-year minimum. So you have to extend your contract. And I was never one that was like, oh, I want to do all 20 years. Like, I'm going to just stick to the minimum. But that opportunity was too good to pass up. Like, I got to travel the world with
Wow.
the most high profile people and work live events and stuff, and like, get my celebrity experience, I guess, where it's like you learn very quickly people are just people. And yeah, and it's an environment that requires absolute perfection in the
Absolutely.
moment. So yeah, so getting out of like that whole White House environment, and like setting up all the live events and running all the live events for Obama and Biden and the first and second ladies. I went to film school, my undergrads in Washington, D.C. at the Art Institute, and then applied to AFI on a whim, just because I saw that they were tracking their alumni. So I'm like, okay, they have something in place that's beyond just like, here's a certificate, good luck. So I'm like, yeah. So I'm like, I'm going to apply to that and see, and then move to LA before I got in, because I knew that's where I needed to be, and got really lucky and got in, and graduated into the void of 2020. So my graduation date was May 2020.
You're a virtual
Yeah.
graduate.
No, because AFI is a whole other mind. We demanded to do a live, like we want to be in person, because traditionally AFI graduate at the TCL Chinese Theater.
Okay.
And we're like, we are not missing that opportunity to do that. Yeah. So we actually walked at the end of like 2021. They like graduated us and then graduated the 2021 class like the next day.
Amazing. Amazing.
Yeah. So then, yeah, I just started writing a lot because I couldn't really do anything else. And then when things started to open up again, I did like a web series in 2021. And then when things started to open up, that's when I got into like the Veterans Writing Project with the Writers Guild. I got into, the Disney program, the Warner Brothers program, and then the strikes hit. That same year, like 2023, that all happened, and then the strikes
Oh
hit.
my gosh, yeah.
Yeah, and like
Netflix in
then,
Hollywood.
dude, and then like the Warner Brothers program, they're like, we were their first inaugural class, and they're like, it was truly a pipeline. Like, you're supposed to go in, you get training, and then there's like, I think there's like 28 of us, and then 10 of those people get to go on to shadow and then direct like their own television episode. And it just depends on like, the shows that are available and like who wants to bring on a green director. And
Great.
it has to be, it has to be like on its third season or more, and like there's like lots of stipulations, but they couldn't even get us that because of the strikes. Like, we're technically still in the program. Like, they do like mixers and classes and like refreshers and stuff, and they're like still trying, which I really appreciate. But because of that fall of 2023, I was just ready to direct literally anything.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I was ready to direct literally anything. So my wife, she produced what is Real Shorts first, and I think last all black cast werewolf vertical that you should all go watch and support and pump the numbers if we can. And she, didn't have the best experience, and so she kind of gave me that heads up, but I was like, I don't care, let's go. I knew the EP on it because she actually produced my short with Disney.
Oh wow.
So So she brought me on, and that's how I ended up doing Snatched, Billionaire to be my husband, which we filmed in, I want to say October, and then they released it in January of 2024. And then from there, because that one, I just got lucky and that one blew up, that I just kept getting work since then. So,
Amazing. Amazing.
yeah.
So now, I normally would ask, was there a moment that you realized that your horizontal growth had capped out and you want to reach higher? But let me pivot the question a little bit. At what point did you realize that you, you graduated from the Obama White House, you went to AFI, did all these amazing programs, and what was, I guess, to be sort of your okay now? I've got the resume. Now what? What was your what next moment? Now I've got the resume moment. Yeah.
As far as like in the vertical space or
Yeah. Both
pre-vertical?
verticals, yeah.
Honestly, didn't really like, I was doing vertical mostly because what I saw right off the bat was this is amazing practice for directing,
Okay.
and I'm getting paid to do it. And like, I saw my friends that are like trying to get features off the ground, and still, it's just getting harder and harder and harder. There is an indie wave coming. There is. It's coming, but for me it was just like I'm lucky if I get to direct one thing a year, and mostly probably won't get paid. It's usually through a program or something like that. And I can feel the rust in the gears, like getting back into it.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I hear you. I hear that. Yeah.
So to have this tool to like work those muscles and get more instinctual, especially with the speed at which these moves, you just kind of have to go with your gut sometimes with these decisions.
2, 3 takes, you're moving on. You got 2, maybe 2, 3 takes. Yeah.
Yeah, even in pre-production though, like you get like 2 weeks and you're just like having to make decisions, on what direction we're gonna go. And Um, it's for me, it was just like that's how I kind of posed it in my head. And I never did like a fake name or anything. I was just like, I want people to see that I'm working. Like, I don't care what it is, as long as they see that I'm working and I'm directing. But my big aha moment of like, oh, this is going to be a lot bigger than I think most people are realizing. It was last September, and I went to the very first LA vertical drama market. I was asked to speak on the director's panel. And I went, and I just thought it was going to be like, other vertical things I've been to, like small and like, kind of,
Sure.
yeah, yeah. But I showed up and I was like, wow, this is really well organized. And I met people from Netflix, and I met people from Warner Brothers, and I met people from, Fox that were sniffing around. And I was like, oh, yeah. Oh, and I went, okay, I see where this is going next year. Next year's going to be wild because they're all going to start getting into the game because they're seeing that it's working. And then that was the first time I saw independence coming out too. And I'm like, oh, that's going to shift. And then I found about the apps coming out that are supporting independence, which is changing the whole distribution dynamic of everything. So I'm like, woo, next year's going to be crazy. And then at the same time, this is the other like, straw on the camel's back in a good way, was at the same time, one of my actors on Hold Me Tight, Mr. Firefighter, he played the grandfather. His name is Patrick. You should hire him. He's great. He was like, hey, come to this FYC event, And I was just like, anytime the universe presents me like random opportunities like that, I usually just do it just to see
Just
where it
say yes.
goes.
Say yes. Yes.
So I'm there at this event, and it's really cool and it's super fun. And I'm like kind of chatting with a few people, and they're like, are you in the academy? Like, you direct and stuff. And I go, hey, it's not, I don't direct TV, I direct these verticals. And they were all like, oh, what's that? They hadn't really heard of it yet, but they were like, you should join, just try. And I'm like, sure. The worst they'll say is no. And I'm still in the same place, and that's fine. So I apply to the Television Academy, and within a month, I got accepted into the director's peer group as a full voting member. Like, not, I know. And I was just like, wait, what? Okay, so the Television Academy is recognized. I just have like one second unit lifetime TV credit from like years ago. Everything else is vertical. I'm like, okay, so they're recognizing this now as something legitimate. And, they're sniffing around. And that's when I
Humor.
pivoted my whole perspective of like, okay, this is going to be a third medium. This is starting here, but it's going to take off. We're going to have other types of episodes and things that are come up in the next couple of years, but yeah, that was like my big aha moment.
I love it. I love it. I'm curious because while you were not deployed in the military, I have always found sort of the militaristic regimen, language, even some of the acronyms like going 10-1, a lovely statement from the military sort of regimen and patterns to work really well in the film
Mhm.
industry. I'm
Mhm.
always amazed how in the film industry, everyone just comes back from lunch. I mean, it's very rare when people say, "We're back," that we're not already back.
Mhm.
Yeah, everyone's already there. So I'm
Yeah.
curious, what do you find carried over from those years in the Obama White House, from the years in the military? How is that sort of informing your sort of workflow, your attitude, that kind of thing?
Well, so this is one of my favorite stories to tell.
Okay, I can
We're excited. I learned in my undergrad, in my film history course, that Hollywood was actually like the whole structure of it all was actually formed by military veterans. So silent film era, World War I just wrapped up. Nobody gives a shit about movies. They're just trying to get people to work in these like burgeoning studios and stuff. And the only people that were really needing work were vets. Nobody else was taking it seriously. So they, scrounged up a bunch of vets and they came up with the structure and they based it off of what they knew from the military. So like above the line is your officers, and it operates a lot like that. Below the line is your enlisted, with like the DP being like your command sergeant major, and then even like fun things like 10-1, like
your 20.
C-47s.
What's your
Yeah,
20?
yeah. And radio speak and everything, like the separating personal and professional, even though we're in a creative space, we're all trying to, it's all very collaborative and team oriented and all of that. Even when I'm walking on like these studios, like in Warner Brothers or in like Paramount, like the way that they label their buildings, it's just like a military base. Like the numbers, the fact that they just put a label on the building that's like cafeteria, it's like warms my heart. Like the transition into it wasn't difficult at all for me, like as far as like the two worlds colliding, because like there's a faint bit of that military style that's still kind of left from our World War I vets. And the most fascinating thing for me was thinking that that chapter's done, the military, that chapter's done. Now I'm a filmmaker. But what I found was the military community, like there's a group called Veterans in Media Entertainment. Um, they, that plus the veteran like film fests and stuff, like though that niche community within a niche community
Mhm.
has been such like a welcoming world for me because it has helped me beyond what anything I could have imagined as far as like my military life. Yeah, that community has really helped me as far as like my film career is concerned.
And a bit of a sidebar, because I'm not really curious about this. As a veteran in that community, what sort of, I'm wondering, the therapeutic function does filmmaking serve? And I ask because I actually was pitching one of my clients for for a VA project. And what they found was that a lot of veterans internally classify their service and as though if they were not in active combat, they were not really a veteran, or they did not deserve whatever the benefits provided
Mhm.
by the government of a vet for a veteran.
Yeah.
They were not taking full advantage. And in the spot we worked on, it was very much about, yes, you were comms. I was in combat, but had your comms not been so clear, so accurate, so direct, I would never get out of that firefight.
Mhm.
So I'm really curious about for you, how do you feel the filmmaking creative field has sort of function within the community as a healing process, community building? I'm just curious about that.
Well, the one thing I do want to point out just with that question, non-combat, that affects a lot of women veterans.
Mm,
Mainly because we weren't allowed to be in combat until 2014 when Obama lifted that restriction, allowing women to enter combat arms, and then also at the same time making it okay to be gay in the military. So big pivotal year for the military. With that, it's so fascinating that we're talking about this right now. I just got asked to speak at the California Women's Veterans reception that they have annually here in LA about the same thing. So yeah, man, I will say, the veteran community, I still think there's a lot to be said. Yeah, what you said about the VA and a lot of vets feeling like, well, I don't deserve it. This guy who, got his leg blown off or whatever, he deserves it more than me, which, like, I understand that feeling as someone who also felt that. But I also simultaneously, so my cousin, who's only like a few months younger than me, he joined right after me. We were the only two in my family that joined. I ended up in the secret squirrel track, as we call it, where you end up with like a high clearance and you're in like all these secret spaces where you can't talk about anything. And then my cousin, he was a full combat infantry ranger army guy, like gung ho, hua hua in the shit. Was medically retired because his buddy that he was on patrol with ended up stepping on an IED, and like, yeah, it was massive and terrible. He was working at the White House at the time. I remember exactly where I was when I got the news. Like, I took a non-travel for like a couple of months and just checked on him because he was at Walter Reed and I happened to be there. And I was his only family there, so I would go check on him and everything. And I remember him telling me as he was getting out, I think I had like 3 years left after he got out. And he was just like, when you get out, it doesn't matter what you did. You signed your name on that line, not knowing what could happen. And
mm,
there's so many people that won't even do that. So you deserve everything. You've put your heart and soul and your life on the line, period. And you deserve every benefit that you have earned. So to answer that question. And then as far as the media side of things, my biggest, my biggest soapbox, I guess I would say on this, is that the media has done such a disservice to veterans, I think, as far as representation is concerned. We are either super duper untouchable heroes on a pedestal, which is
okay.
a very difficult responsibility to carry for some people. Or we're so broken from PTSD that we're a danger to society. And a lot of people lean towards that more than they lean towards hero. Even if they're like, oh, thank you, such a hero, in the back of their mind, they're like, are you unstable? It's not that the stories that we've seen are untrue. It's just like, it's Hollywood, so they want to hone in on the most dramatic shit. But that's only like 2% of military stories. Like, there's a mountain of, people and worlds. Like, my eyes were opened when I went in. I met so many people from all over the world because they were in the military to get their citizenship because they believed in America so much. Like,
Mm,
name a country, like, they're probably there. I happened, like, when I was in training, it was mostly people from Nigeria at that time. But yeah, you have people from all over the world that join the military, all over the country, all walks of life, um, all shapes, sizes, colors, genders, sexual orientations, like everything. And mostly what we see is male. They're like 6 feet tall. They're usually white with like maybe like a person of color teammate, you know. You hardly ever see women or the queer community or, like Asian women, like, it's just like, and if they are represented, it's like a tiny little role, that they kind of pop in, like, look, I'm representing, like, it's not.
again, hashtag took it.
Yes, exactly. And so it's like there's just so many other fascinating stories out there, of women and people of color. And I think that has been the biggest thing as far as like healing is concerned in the community is we all feel it. We all feel it. And there's like even stories from I have a Marine veteran friend. She's in a writer's room right now. They picked her specifically because she's has a Latina background and she's a Marine veteran. And there's another white male veteran in the same writer's room. And when there's like military questions, they'll always go to the guy and be like, so what do you think about this? Da 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 da, blah blah blah. And he'll like answer, and then he'll go, but would you also like to ask the other veteran in the room? From my experience, at least, been really supportive, and everyone's aware, and we're, when we do get the opportunities to try to put like more even representation out there, like people are on board.
Amazing.
Hmm.
Wow. I feel like we should have a whole episode just on like subject, military to filmmaking vertical leap. Maybe
Hmm.
maybe that's next season. I love it. I love it. So let me ask you this. What surprised you most about vertical storytelling?
I think the fact, and this has been like a learning curve, mainly because us first, like the first class of, US directors, we had to kind of learn what it was as opposed to like we're like figuring it out. I think for me it was the fact that it's really not about storytelling. It's more about like moments, I guess, if that makes sense, because
Interesting. Okay. So peaks, valleys, peaks and valleys.
yeah, like clickbait, is like the worst way of putting it. But I just watched this video like a couple of days ago where this guy broke down like everyone thinks, movies came from theater and TV came from movies, and now we're like, oh, vertical came from TV or whatever. But he goes, that's not the case. Like, theater is theater. Movies came from photography. It's visual. It is photography. Like, that's where it started.
Motion
And
picture.
that's, yes, motion pictures. They are pictures. It is photography, like, hands down. And he goes, TV did not come from movies. TV came from radio. And so it's like this other way of approaching storytelling where, people are walking around their house. They have to know what's going on. We need more dialogue, not so visual, more dialogue heavy, more character based, so people can like get it. And with that in mind, I was like, well, vertical didn't come from TV. Vertical came from social media.
Yep.
Vertical's birthplace is social media
The phone.
and games, the gamifying,
Correct.
So when you think of it that way, at least right now, it really isn't about storytelling. It's about attention. It's about getting your attention and keeping it.
The attention economy.
Yeah. I feel like we'll move away from that slowly. I feel like we'll get more actual like stories that adapt to like this kind of mini episode thing, and all of that. And it'll be more visually interesting. The budgets will be higher. And I do see that future. I just know that right now, specifically with the apps that are coin based, they need the clicks. They need you to keep watching. They need your attention. I actually had a producer tell me if you read the script and it's really good, and you're like, wow, this is a great script. This is going to do so well. He goes, it's going to bomb. If you read the script and you go, this is garbage, he goes, that's going to blow up. It's going to blow up because it's not about the logic of the story, the plot, or
The
even
narrative.
character building. Yeah, exactly. Like it's not about any of those things. It's about those shock moments like, what the? Wait, what? And then you have to keep going. So once that clicked for me, I was like, okay, this is a totally different medium. This is a totally different way of approaching it as a director. And I still catch myself on set sometimes being like, but that doesn't make any sense. And the client's like, but we need it. I'm like, copy. We need
Yeah.
it because you want that moment. If they're saying they want it in the ads, get it and get it good, because the more those ads work, which they've already tested, the more numbers you get, the bigger the hit is, the more you're working. But there's hope. Apps like Candy Jar that are not coin based, that whole economy.
Based on IP.
Yeah, exactly. So it's like that whole economy of like, you need a good story. You want something that sucks people in and they're vested in the characters and all of that. So it's like, it's coming, that
All of it. Yeah.
please. Anyway, did that answer your question? I don't know if that answered your question.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Absolutely did. So, was there anything that felt kind of risky? Like you mentioned, you didn't go under a pseudonym or a nom d'auteur, I guess would be the term. So something feel risky, something feel inevitable, or between that risky and inevitable pocket, what do you feel you felt?
The only risk I feel like I take in this corner of the industry, and it's a personal risk, is not taking on stories that I feel are gratuitously abusive, anything with any like sexual assault that is unreprimanded, like she falls in love with the guy that did it, and things like that. Anything where the messaging is like something I can't put my name behind, like I just say no to those projects, which puts some big gaps. A lot of other directors that have started at the same time as me they've done like twice as many as me. They've done like 20, 25 of these since 2023. But I have a little bit of a slower approach, I think, because of that hard line that I have. If I'm going to put my name on it, I'm not, then it needs to be something that I can stand behind and I can go, yeah, I made that project, and it's out there and I'm happy I did it and I'm proud of it and our team did the best that they could and that's what's most important to me. The problem with that, the risk behind it is that the less frequent you're doing these, the
Mm,
better chance you have of like being left behind, I guess, to an
right,
extent.
yeah.
Um so, because you're thinking social media, right? Which is its birthplace. Ask any YouTuber, any podcaster, any person that's like trying to fully engage in social media, it is nonstop. So,
Always, 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 always posting.
yeah.
Let me ask you this. You mentioned the independent world,
hmm
but I don't know if that's the answer to the question. Paige, what is your next swipe up?
Ooh, and I think this is also because you said what's a risk and then what is like a positive. Yeah, I think to be very honest, I'm gonna wrap the swipe up into this as well. I do see a lot of hope in the independent side of this. I think it's very new. It's just starting to get on its feet, but I do feel like it's going to be the one corner where you're going to see this is a very bold statement, but the future of how Hollywood can function.
Okay.
So I think it's going to be a good model for that, mainly because everything's being shot for very little money, which I do think is going to be the future of Hollywood. Unfortunately, there'll be very few projects that are like massive, big budgets, just
Really
because we're going to be
tentpole movies, franchises, but that's about it. Yeah.
We're gonna be competing with AI, unfortunately. Hopefully we get the guardrails and everything that we need that keeps us safe, but that will make things a lot cheaper. And so you have to compete with that budget wise. And I think the independent side is a great model for that because you're gonna see original content that people are engaging with that we will have data for where they can take that and show them like this is the audience that's engaging, this is what they engage with, this is what they like about it, and you'll get a lot more on the back end because that's where you get most of your money in vertical is in the back end. I think also it's going to present a new way of proving yourself as a filmmaker as
Mhm.
opposed to the old school film festival route. Like you could go scrounge up some money, crowdfund, whatever it is, go shoot your thing, put it on this like distribution basically that is like I'll name two. So MoviePix and Inverted are two platforms that are coming out this year if they're not already out. I think MoviePix is already out. Inverted is should be out, I think, at the end of this month. It's like a different way of doing distribution. You're not having to go buy things or whatever. You just can get it on this platform, get like a rev share model or whatever with them. That is pretty sustainable, as an artist, if you can hit those points that the audience loves. But even so, if you film it in both formats, you film it vertically and you film it. Now you put the vertical one online, get the audience data, and then now you have that to add to your package if you want to go try to sell this 60-minute pilot or this feature or something to like a streaming platform or something like that. That's kind of how I see. That's my big hope, and that's I would say my next swipe up is getting these two independent ones off the ground because I believe in them so much and I already have all the pieces in place. I'm just nailing down the finances, which we are like super close to getting. So, fingers crossed, if anybody's interested,
Well, yeah, I mean, we're here. If you feel comfortable, we're gonna have all your contacts in the show notes. If you want to just, is there maybe even now, is there a portal we can drop a little like coffee, Patreon or something contribute to your project, or we can.
I will put one on my website just for this. Buy
Okay.
Paige a coffee.
Okay, perfect. And that'll be in the show notes as well. So, last question. Right now, in the film industry in particular, but just the world in general, is at such a crossroads, particularly through your lens as a veteran, having worked with a number of administrations, informing that for those people in our audience who really want to make the vertical reach, they want to go up to the next level, but they're kind of sitting on the fence. There's some fear, there's some hesitation, there's some very practical concerns like the rent or the diapers or,
Mm-hmm.
very real nuts and bolts, meat and potatoes issues or fear, different sorts of fears. Like I always say that as individuals, most of the time, we don't have a comfort zone. The people around us often have a comfort zone where they feel comfortable with us being in.
Mm-hmm.
And is it okay to give yourself the permission to become someone that may make them feel uncomfortable?
Mm-hmm.
So the range, so if you have the nuts and bolts, day-to-day, budgetary, then you have the more emotional, spiritual reinvention of the personal identity issues. So for those people who are really looking to make that shift, make that change, make the vertical reach, what would you do to encourage, what would you say to encourage them?
I think it really depends on like what part they want to play in the vertical space, right? Like what job they're going after, because there are different ways of kind of approaching it. I do know that there are a lot of people that are making ends meet with it right now, but it is demanding. So like if you are someone that's like directing, acting, producing, I mean it's a lot of work period, but you'll get a bigger chunk at the end of the project as far as a paycheck is concerned. This is just the practicality of it right now. Or even like a DP, like also makes pretty okay money. And then there's everyone else that it varies, it could be anywhere from like as low as I've seen is like 150 a day to like upwards of like 500 a day, depending. A lot of those people, they just stack these things. And so it's like back to back to back to back to back. They take a break on their own for like, a week or a month, and then they come back and they go back to back to back to back to back. The benefits is that you do get to run your own schedule, but when you're working, you are working. Like it is fast, it is relentless. There's a lot of sets that are still, I believe the unions are coming and I don't even know if it's going to be the traditional unions that Hollywood uses, but there might be like a formation of something new that happens. I can feel it in the air, that revolutionary energy. But there's a lot of sets that are still not safe. They're not professional work environments. You have inexperienced people that are still being brought on in certain roles and stuff. It can make it a lot more difficult to navigate. And that's just speaking very real. I just want to be very upfront with everybody. Like if you're wanting to get into the space, like right now, that's where we're at. But it's doable. I would say your best way of getting in, this is across the board. If you're acting, you just audition, 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 audition. You just keep auditioning. I'm like a madman. But for everyone else, it's find the friends that are in it, talk to them, show up to events, shake hands, rub elbows, and know exactly what you want to do. Don't come in and be like, I want to write, I want to direct, I want to act, I want to this, I want to that. Like pick one for now and stick to it and just keep telling people that. Oh, I'm a writer. I'm a writer. I'm a writer. I'm a writer. Or I'm a costumer. I'm a costumer. I'm a costumer. And just keep telling people those things. I think that's your best way of getting a gig is just like once you're into, like, you're going to kind of continue to get work because there are tons of these being made right now. Like this year, it's slowing down because of AI. Fortunately, I have directing friends that are losing jobs over it. Like they're hired, and then like the next week they're told, oh, this went into our AI pipeline. Yeah. The last 6 months of this year, I don't know what that's gonna look like. Like, I do feel like the platforms are gonna go really hard on AI, and I'm hoping it'll burst with Western audiences. It's doing really well with Eastern audiences right now, so we'll see. Yeah, I mean, if this is the path you want to try to get into, it would just be showing up and meeting people right now, reaching out to people that are doing it, seeing if you can get in, assist, where you can, if they're looking for an assistant, emails, cold calls, DMs, whatever you got to do, do it now, because by the end of this year, I feel like we're going to be very solidified on like what this looks like and what the core group is.
And the moats will have formed around the castle, I think.
Yes, 100%. Hmm.
Let me ask you this, zooming out a bit outside of the vertical space. Let's say that I'm a chef or I work in a restaurant and I want to start my own restaurant. I want to take that next step forward as a life thing. You said you're talking about networking, meeting people. As a general life hack, how would you encourage those hesitating people to make whatever the vertical reach means for them?
There have been, I would say more than a handful of people that have been doing film in various ways, commercial, music videos, TV, even independent film, like feature film. There are those filmmakers that went out, by the skin of their teeth and made their own vertical.
Mhm.
And that path is looking very different from like what would basically be the short film, or the independent feature path.
That's full route or
Yeah, it's only different right now because um there are people that have done like basically like the first 10 episodes or something, or like the 8 episodes, which is good. You can like put it on YouTube, or you can put it on your website in your reel, you can like show, hey, look, I've done this thing. Even the independent platforms I know aren't super interested in like basically what would be the equivalent of a short film.
Mm.
So if you're gonna do it and you want to try to make money back from it, and make yourself sustainable and use this medium as your form of storytelling, which is what I want to do. It's basically get to a place where I can greenlight myself. You just go for the whole thing. Like try to at least do like 45 pages in your script, and yeah, and just commit, ask, get into that favor bank and see if you can make it for dirt cheap, because like that is the artist's dream, right? Is cut out the fucking middleman, and make what you believe in and get it out there and get it to audiences. And there's so many untapped audiences right now in this
8 billion.
space.
8 billion.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So do that, but also I think to make the transition as well is you kind of have to do both, which is what I'm trying to do, is meet the audience where they're at, because that's the audience is watching right now. So you got to kind of meet them where they're at, and then start to just weave in what is possible, like the types of stories you want to tell, and just kind of like start to transition your audience or branch it out into this other space. It's tough. The independent track is probably harder than just like trying to get into like the studio guys, because you're really putting it all on your own plate and it's like taking on a lot. But yeah, that is another way you could do it. And then there's like other tricks, like if you're specifically like looking to direct or do cinematography or something like that, like take your reel that you already have and just cut it vertical. If you want to do it cheap, already have the stuff, and then just find the frame that works and cut your reel vertical, and that's the cheaper way to do it as opposed to like doing something independent.
Amazing. Well, thank you so much, Paige. I'm so encouraged. You're amazing. And to the audience, remember, if you're building something new or becoming someone new, please check in with us. This is the Vertical Reach. And remember, just keep swiping up. Thank you so much.
Thank you for listening to this episode of the Vertical Reach podcast. If you enjoyed the conversation, make sure to subscribe so you never miss an episode. And if it sparked something for you, please share it with a fellow storyteller. Until next time, let's tell stories that connect.